Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Radio Networks, 160 stations strong, and XM Satellite 166 on Saturday, September 3rd, 2011. This is episode 801. Enjoy, my friends. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by the great folks at Netflix. Watch thousands of TV episodes and movies on your PC, Mac, iPad, iPhone, or TV instantly, all streamed directly to you, saving you time, money, and hassle. For your free 30-day trial, or if you're already a member, tell a friend, to go to netflix.com/twit. Well, a good day to you. Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. It's time to talk computers, the internet, cell phones, camcorders, MP3 players, home theater, and all that jazz, as we do each and every week at this time. 8888 Ask Leo is my phone number. I'd love to hear from you. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S., outside the U.S., and we do get a lot of listeners, thanks to the interwebs, from all over the world. So you're more than welcome to call in. Just, if you use Skype out and call that number, it's toll free, so it won't cost you anything. It won't use up your minutes. 8888 Ask Leo. My mom asked me, speaking of minutes, she said, because, she lives in Rhode Island, they were blacked out for 4 or 5 days because of Irene, as were many of our friends on the East Coast. Andy Anako lost all his frozen pizzas in Boston. And Mom, too, lost everything in the fridge. But she said, it'd be nice to have a cell phone, but I don't want to use it except once in a while. I don't want to pay a monthly fee for it. How do I do that? And, I said, because I think she had a thing called the Jitterbug, which is a phone for older folks with big numbers and letters. And you pay, I think, a $30 a month fee. And she was when she was traveling, coming to visit us or whatever, she'd turn it off. She's in her late 70s. She'd turn it off. She'd turn it on, I should say, and then discontinue the service. And it cost her every time. I said, Mom, you want a burner? She said, a what? I said, a burner. Don't you ever watch, with a wire? You want the same kind of phone used by drug dealers all over the world. It's AT&T calls it the Go phone. It's a pay-as-you-go phone. You buy them at a drugstore. And, in fact, I found a company, and I'd love to hear from anybody who's used them. Tell me whether they're a good company or not, because I thought the price is right. It's called Net10, net10.com. And the idea is for $25, you're not going to get a smartphone. You're going to get one of those old flip phones, or a Nokia phone or Motorola or LG. But they're cheap. You get, $25, something like that. And for $25, you get 750 minutes. I'm sure they're what we call an MVNO, a mobile virtual network operator. Well, all that means is they're a company that doesn't have their own cell phone towers or infrastructure. They just lease it from Sprint or AT&T or sometimes Verizon. Usually it's Sprint or AT&T, and then they resell it. So you buy the phone, costs you nothing. I don't think it costs you anything for a monthly fee. You use the minutes, and when you use them up, you recharge it, and that's it. And for $25, you got 750 minutes. I mean, she's going to use 10 minutes a year. Honey, I'm at the airport. Come get me. That she doesn't talk like that. Mom, I know Mom's watching. I'm just teasing. It's a joke. Man, honey, come get me. I'm at the airport. Go phone's basically the same, right? But I think on AT&T, Dave K's telling me in the chat room, and I think this is true, you have 3 months or 6 months to use the minutes. You don't have you can't use them forever. I don't know how that works. Virgin Mobile, $10 every 2 months. That's not bad. Net10 uses a Verizon network. Virgin Mobile uses Sprint. I'm going to take a look at the Virgin Mobile. $15 so it's $5 a month, and minutes roll over. See, that's probably a good deal. But I mean, $25 $8 for the net 10. That's not bad. It's really interesting to see the cell phone market churn and bubble and boil. Does anybody really love their cell phone provider? These guys are all big fat jerks, right? I mean, it doesn't matter. I used to think, I was a Sprint for a long time, and I got kind of run around by the customer service. So I said, I'll go somewhere else. I have Sprint, AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon phones. I have them all four because I review phones, and it's just a cost I bear of 4 accounts. Actually, I'm currently without a Sprint phone. So, but that's going to change, I think, when Sprint comes out. The new Galaxy 2S looks so sweet, and it's 4.5 inches. It's a big phone screen with that super AMOLED screen that Samsung does. That's a tempting Android phone. Anyway, make long story short, customer service comes and goes. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But essentially, these businesses are all, my mom said it, they're greedy. She used another word. They're greedy SOBs. I said, she said, all they want is money. I said, yeah, that's they're a business. The thing that they get you with the early termination fee, I mean, that's, okay, look, I understand they subsidize a phone. You get an iPhone for $200 that would nominally cost you $600, right? So it would be not unreasonable for them to say, well, you got to stay with us for a year or two so we can recoup the cost of our phone. I understand that. And if you leave early, what they should do is could just prorate the cost of the phone over the 2 years. Wouldn't that be smart? But, no. It's $275 if you leave us. And you know what? If you change your contract in any way, you add a service or delete a service, that just increases the contract another 2 years. It's like your dry cleaner. You go to dry cleaner and they give you a bag. 1-hour Martinizing bag, right? They give you a bag to put and it's like the dry cleaner saying, well, we've got to amortize the cost of that bag, so you got to be our customer for a year, or we're going to charge you. We're going to charge you to move to another dry cleaner. What? I can't think of very many businesses where they charge you to leave the business. I understand they need to amortize the cost of the phone, but please, come on. And really, do these phones really cost that much money? Does an iPhone really cost AT&T $600? No. How much does it cost AT&T? So, you don't have much choice. If you got to pay to play. But I think it's nice that we can find these little burner phones or something. But I just think all these companies are this way. And so I'm not, and the government has absolutely let them walk all. I mean, Congress, it's the best Congress money can buy. Verizon, all these companies, they donate heavily to the campaigns. Members of Congress occasionally make noises, we're going to investigate these early termination fees. But do they ever do anything? No. All the phone companies now, when you leave a message, they give you 15 or 20 seconds of, at the tone, leave a message. If you'd like to leave a fax, press 1. If you'd like to leave... You know what to do. You don't need that message. Hear it every time you leave a message. Why do they do that? Well, guess why. Because it costs money every time I have to listen to that. It's using air minutes. And they're just taking advantage of us. If you'd like to leave a fax... What? A fax on I don't understand. So I was surprised, maybe even shocked, when I heard that the Department of Justice is trying to block the AT&T T-Mobile acquisition. What? Didn't these guys get their payoff this month? You're kidding me. They're going to block this? They're going to do something for consumers? Wait a minute. Am I dreaming? Well, apparently so. Now, it's not a done deal because the Department of... You'd think that the government, the Antitrust Division, could just say, no, you can't do that. No, sorry, boys. But no, they have to sue. They go to court, and a judge has to rule. So they're suing AT&T, saying, no, the T-Mobile acquisition is bad, and I agree with them. I'm sure AT&T is saying, but wait, there'll still be 3 cell phone companies. Well, they all act like monopolies, don't they? And frankly, Sprint is going to be in such a bad position if AT&T acquires T-Mobile. It'll be the ginormous cell phone company. Then there's Verizon, number 2, and then Sprint's a distant third. Wait, I'll catch up, guys. No, Sprint, Sprint just low-hanging fruit. Someone's going to buy them, and then that'll be it. 2 companies. That's a trust. So I'm thrilled that the government steps in. We'll see what happens, of course. Hey, let's talk about it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. You don't have to remember that number. If you go to the webpage, everything you need to know is there. The chat room, the wonderful chat room. Always fun to be in the chat room. They're kind of the wiseacres in the back of the class there, but they're also my brains. I mean, if I forget something or don't know something, or as we were talking earlier about Go phones and burner phones, they know everything. There's somebody in there always who knows something. You can visit that chat room. You can watch the live video of our brand new studios. Boy, is it pretty in here. Thanks to Brent By of OceanStudio.com, man. That guy just lit this thing like a puppy. I was just in L.A. I was visiting the set of Dexter. Robert Lewis is the producer down there. Happens to be a fan. Hi, Bob. And no, don't worry. I'm not going to tell anybody anything about season 6. Lips are sealed. But boy, you just realize what craft, what talent, what industry is involved down there. These guys make it look effortless, and yet what they do is incredible. The acting, the lighting, the grips, the camera, everything. They just are like a seamless team. Hundreds of people. It just works so well and so gorgeous. And then we get back here to my studio where it's just me. Brent lit it, but then when Brett's done, he gets the cameras and the lights and everything. He's done. He goes away, and then I push buttons, and it all just happens. Camera 1, camera 2, camera 3. I don't need a director. Camera 4, camera 5, camera 6. I don't need anybody to help me. I can just, there's a nice shot of a table. I don't know what's wrong with that camera. It's got a close-up of wood grain. But if you want to see what happens when you let the talent switch cameras and do the lower thirds and everything else, techguylabs.com. That's the website. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the number. Michelle called from Los Angeles. Hi, Michelle. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Leo. Hi, Leo. It's Scottish Michelle. Thanks again for a great show.
Thanks for listening.
Oh, I love your show. Hey, I have got to get a new phone before I throw my BlackBerry out of the window. And I'd like to get an Android phone. I'm on Verizon. But my cellular guy keeps telling me, well, first of all, I don't know what phone to get. There's so many out there. My eyes are crossed. And secondly, my cellular guy, who I've been with for 20 years, tells me it's not a good idea. They get hacked so easily. I'll have no privacy. My contacts will be stolen. I mean, I'm sweating when I hear...
What? What is he talking about? What is he, nuts?
I don't know.
He must have read an article by my friend Paul Thurrott. He's a Windows phone guy. He wrote the book Windows Phone Secrets, and he's got his website about Windows called the Super Site for Windows. He does a show with us called Windows Weekly. And Paul wrote an article this week saying you'd have to be crazy to be an IT guy and let your employees use Android. He says, and I guess your phone guy agrees, maybe he read the article, that Android's insecure. I'm not convinced. I mean, Android potentially is less secure, but we've not seen any of those things he just talked about. They're all theoretical threats. They're not real threats. So, but I think that that's a threat on any cell phone platform. There's always that risk because basically smartphones are computers, and any computer is hackable. Smartphones are even more at risk because they're always online. But Michelle, if you don't just download programs from any source on the internet, if you're careful about it, I don't think it's any more risky to use an Android phone than any other smartphone.
Okay, then
if you feel like you want an Android phone, now Verizon has iPhones as well. In fact, 1 month from now, almost exactly to the day, Apple will announce the next iPhone. If you could wait a month, you might want to look at what that iPhone has to offer.
I will. I'm not in that much of a hurry, but I was looking at the Samsung Infuse. I thought that was gorgeous. I find out it's only for AT&T.
Well, they're equivalents for all of this. So Samsung, the way Samsung works is they make a phone base model, in this case the Galaxy phones, and then they deliver them to each carrier. All 4 carriers have Galaxy phones, but they get different names for each one. So it is a little confusing. I think you have some great choices on the Verizon platform, including the identical phone, basically, with a different name. I'm just trying to see what the it's all different names. What is the Infuse on Verizon chat room? I think the one to look at is going to be the one that they've just announced, which is the Galaxy 2. Galaxy S2. What you're liking about that is that Super AMOLED screen, which is really a beauty. It's the screen you loved, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Just gorgeous.
Big phones, because I do a lot.
And it's big. Yeah, I think it's 4.3 inches.
Mm-hmm.
That same phone is available on the. Is it the Fascinate? I think they might call it the Fascinate. I can't remember what they call it on the Verizon platform. But yeah, it's the Fascinate. It's the same phone. If you look at it, you'll go, "Oh, that's the same phone. It's just got a different name." So you can get the Infuse in effect on Verizon. It's the Fascinate. Now that's the Galaxy 1. There is going to be a Galaxy 2, but it's going to be a couple of months. You would be. I think if you're in the market for a smartphone, it would be prudent to wait, because I think we're going to see in September and October for the iPhone, September for the Galaxy 2, we're going to see a couple of great new phones. I like Android. I use Android. I'm an Android fan. I think for most people, people who aren't geeks, utter geeks, Michelle, you're kind of a geek.
I am. I'm a computer consultant.
Yeah, so I think an Android phone is good for you. You know, you don't have to worry about security. There's a checkbox in Android that says, allow Michelle to download programs from third parties, untrusted third parties. Don't check that. If you're worried, don't check that. Only get programs from Amazon or the Android marketplace. And almost, those are vetted in the same, they're vetted as effectively as Apple vets its apps. Apple can't check every app for malware. It can't. And it's missed some malware in the past. It's a mistake to think that just because apps have to be approved that they're somehow guaranteed secure. They're not. What's really important is the ability to kill the app if it's discovered to have malware, because it gets discovered very quickly. And both Android and Apple have what they call kill switches, where Google, in the case of Android, or Apple in the case of iPhones, can flip a switch and actually delete that application, kill it from your phone. And both phones have that capability. That's mostly what you want to make sure.
All right.
All right. So I would look at the Fascinate. If you liked the Infuse, you'll like the Fascinate. I'm not a big AT&T fan in general, because I think all the iPhone users in AT&T have just killed the AT&T bandwidth. So I think you're smart to stick with Verizon. And I think you'll be very happy. If you couldn't wait, I would get the Fascinate. If you can wait, I'd look at the successor to the Fascinate, which will be called the Galaxy 2S.
Great. Okay, thank you so much.
Great to talk to you, Michelle. I think that there's a term in the tech world called FUD. Stands for fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And it's something that competitors spread about the other guy. I think there's a lot of FUD about smartphones. Don't believe it. Listen to Leo. He'll tell you the truth. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. This is the Dexter theme. Man, I tell you what. I can't tell you anything. They made us swear secrecy, because there are, fan blogs that would kill to know what's going to happen in season 6, right? So I'm sworn to secrecy. Don't ask. I'm sworn to secrecy. But it was so much fun to hang out and watch them work. And, it's funny because they have 3 sound stages in Hollywood at the Gower Sunset Studios there in Hollywood. And there's one stage is like kind of the permanent sets, the police department and the Dexter's apartment, the places that they use every year. And they're shooting. We saw them shoot a scene in the police department, and the director and the sound guy and everybody, they have to kind of hide between, because the way they shoot it with Steadicams and everything, walking through the set, it means just like they built a police department in the middle of the soundstage. It's got rooms and, you know, everything's there. Dexter's lab is Dexter's lab. It's a real room, just like you would expect. It's not a set with an open side or an open anything. It's just there it is. And so they have to hide because the camera's going right through the set. And they find these little nooks and crannies that are off camera to hide. And at one point, we were hiding behind a big flat. And the director's there, the assistant director, the sound guys. We're just kind of crouching back there. It's really fun. It's really fun, and it is going to be an amazing season. I can't wait to see it. Great show, really fun show. If you don't have Showtime, get it by October 2nd. Sunday at 9 for Dexter. 8888 Ask Leo. I don't know why I'm giving them a big plug, but it was just so nice of them to let us walk around and see the set and see how it's done in the big time, the big leagues, the big shoe. I'll tell you, I learned a lesson in terms of costs. The way we do all of our shows, you know, I do about, I do 10 shows a week, and we have another 10 shows or 20 shows that we do on my podcast network. They're audio and video. We have a beautiful studio, and it's professionally done, and it's gorgeous. You know, it pales compared to something like Dexter. But the thing that really costs money is not the set. You build that once, and, you know, it lasts for years. It's all the people. And, man, when you see how many people a major television show or a movie requires, I mean, there's a guy who opens the elevator doors. That's his job. I mean, they're everything there, and I think about how we do it, which is basically me. There's one guy in front of the camera, and maybe one guy behind the camera, and that's it. Everything's locked down and all that. 8888 Ask Leo. And even as we're doing this, we're taping right now in Atlanta, Georgia. The big Dragon Con science fiction convention is going on right now, and we're recording our daily news show for tomorrow. Or I guess for Monday. This will be the Monday show there in Atlanta right now. So even it's you know, while we're doing the show upstairs, they're doing a show downstairs. Bob is on the line from Vermont. Hey, Bob, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
W6TWT, this is KB1VO, over.
KB1VO, W6. I don't think we're allowed to do this, are we? W6TWT.
I'm legal. I'm running 300-ohm twisted pair.
Bob's a ham, just for those of you who haven't figured that out. Hey, I hear Vermont got hit pretty heavily by the hurricane. I hope you're okay there.
Yeah, we're a little wet, but we're up in the northeast corner. In fact, I'm looking at Quebec through my window, and we escaped the brunt of the flooding.
That's good.
So thank you.
And I know hams jumped in during Irene, and were vital all up and down the eastern seaboard.
And I urge listeners to Google Aid for Vermont to make your own contribution.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, you don't usually hear of Vermont having disasters.
No, we don't. Usually it's when the milk goes sour or something like that.
Oh, the maple syrup's not running. Could be an economic crisis.
Yep.
Well, no, I hope you guys, but Vermont is one of the most beautiful states in the nation. It's just gorgeous. Love Vermont.
State whose motto is its name.
The motto is the name?
Yeah. The Green Mountain State, Vermont.
Vermont. I didn't know that. But now that you say it, it's French for Green Mountain.
Yep.
I'll be darned.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Okay. Yeah. Bad French. Canadian French.
Same show, Joe.
What can I do for you, Bob?
I use Exchange 2007 at work, and I send emails to a vendor several times a week, and they have changed their domain, and I am lazy, and I don't like typing the entire email address. So when I start to type the email address in the web version of Exchange, the old address is the default. So I have to go in and manually select the new one. And I've deleted the old contact, but Exchange is so smart, it keeps it in there.
So it's really not Gmail's problem. Yeah, Gmail, you just go to the contacts and you can check the ones you don't want. Gmail does do this thing that sometimes baffles and annoys people, which is saves email addresses. When you send somebody an email, it adds that to your contact list. You can turn that feature off, but most people, it's on by default. Most people don't realize it. Suddenly they see they've got 1,000 names in their email, their contacts, but you can delete all of those. So you're saying that, what is the application that you're using?
I'm using, my first question is I'm using Exchange 2007.
As your server?
Yes.
But what is the mail client?
Well, the mail client is I use Internet Explorer, sign on to...
So you're using Outlook Mail, webmail?
Yeah.
So it really is, you have to delete it from Outlook webmail.
But, I only have Outlook webmail basically it's just a way into the server. So all my contacts are on the server. See what I mean?
Yeah. Let me see if I can figure this one out. Outlook remembers every address you type in a to CC or BCC field, even the mistyped ones, the old ones, the incorrect ones.
Yeah.
So to remove a name, or I'm looking at this from About.com. This is really terrible. To remove a name or email address from Outlook's autocomplete list, create a new email message in Outlook or Outlook Web Access. Start typing the name. Then use the down arrow to highlight the entry and press delete.
Thank you, sir.
Now, that works in Outlook. I suspect it would work in Outlook Web Access as well. So the same thing. So you're going, and that's kind of a default for even Internet Explorer and others. When you have an autocomplete, you first type the first few letters in Explorer, for instance, and then it gives you a drop-down of all of them. Just move the arrow down as if you're going to select it. But instead of hitting return to select it, you hit delete to delete it, and it should delete that.
Okay. The second question, if I can sneak it in, is that on my iPod 3, I sync with the Exchange server at the office, but it appears to me that the only way I can get my Google Mail contacts, which are my personal universe on it, are to manually download my contacts and then put them up on.
If you go to Google and look at their sync tools, they have a Google Outlook sync.
Yeah, but can't you? It looks to me like you can only have that. Since I have Outlook on one, I'm using the Outlook link for my Office Exchange. That it sort of bumps that out of the way. So I can't even access my Google contacts through.
So you have, in other words, you have multiple address books?
Yeah, I have my personal and I have my
Got
Office.
it.
Let
me look into this because I'm not sure, Bob, if you can do two at once. But I do have maybe a workaround, so keep listening. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo's the phone number. We were talking with Bob in Vermont. He has a complicated kind of a setup, but not an unusual one. He's using Microsoft Exchange to host his email. He uses Outlook Web Access when he wants to read his email, but he'd like it to sync his contacts up, his personal contacts, to his iPod. And there are ways to do that. If you're using a Mac, which he's probably not, the address book will support an Exchange server as a sync. If you're not using a Mac, you need a tool to sync your Exchange server. I think you need to use Outlook. If he syncs his Google account with his Exchange server, which you can do, Google will sync with an Exchange server. Can he get different? He says he has two different contact lists. I'm asking the chat room. They're so smart. Can he can you get two different contact lists? Will they merge? Can you choose? That's a tricky one. Caspar77 says he can sync Google to his phone. It's not his phone, though. It's his iPod. Yes. All right. HWEB, or HiWeb, I guess, says you can. It's not the phone, understand. It's an iPod. That's the tricky part. That's the tricky part. 8888, ask Leo. Maybe we can get a help for him. And to tell you what, here's what we'll do, Bob. watch the website because James DeRuvo is in the chat room. He's monitoring answers, and he will add that to the website, techguylabs.com. Good news, we're embarking next week on a redesign of the website. Finally, I know I've been promising this literally for 4 years. The website as it stands right now is pretty primitive. It's a wiki, because originally I thought, oh, this will be cool. You know how Wikipedia works, where the entire community contributes and changes and modifies things? And I thought, oh, wouldn't that be a great way to do the Tech Guy website? Well, it would be, except for there were a handful of people who were just mean, rude, bad actors, and they messed it up for everybody. So we had to turn off the community contribution on the wiki. We still use the wiki because it's easy for James and me and others to add content to the site. You know, it's very simple. But I think that there is a better way. We're going to redesign the site using Drupal with our partner ImageX Media. They just did the new TWiT site, and it'll tie into the TWiT site. And one of the things I'm really looking forward to, I've always wanted to get your input, the listeners' input, into the answers. So here's my vision for the new site. You'll go to the site just as you do now, and this is episode 801. So you'll be able to look at it, you know, last Saturday's episode or last Sunday's episode, or you'll be able to go by episode number, and you'll be able to look at all the questions and answers. Each question and answer will be a single entry, almost like a blog, that'll have the question. It'll have my answer. If all goes well, if we can manage this, it will also have the video clip of the question and answer, so you can listen to and watch that. That'll be kind of the official part of it. And then it'll have comments, just as a blog does, where the Team Tech Guy, that's what I'm going to call all of you experts out there, will be able to add comments, suggestions. Of course, we'll moderate it heavily so the bad actors won't get to play there. But I think that'll be a nice way to get some more depth. So I know there's a lot of people in the chat room, for instance, who have some great answers for Bob. They would be able to go right to the website almost immediately and say, here's what I suggest, here's what I suggest, and here's the best part. You'll also be able to go there and vote answers up or down. So the answer that will be closest to my answer will be the one that gets the most votes. In theory, the best answer. Yeah, clever, huh? So it could make it a very valuable resource. You'll also be able to search by topic or search by product. So it won't just be chronological. It'll be both chronological and by topic. So I'm hopeful. This is the plan. This is the design we're going to give the web designers, and we'll see if we can get pretty close to that. Robert in Minnesota. Hey, Robert, Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Welcome.
Yes, I guess I picked a good day to call based on your show opening.
You heard my mom wants the same thing. So tell us what you're looking for.
Well, basically looking for an emergency cell phone for the vehicle for traveling in case I break down or something like that.
Yeah. Isn't that a good idea? That's one of the things the cell phone is so great for. You're never out of touch.
So, basically one of those prepaid cards.
That's what you want. And it's just like a prepaid, a card that you would use to make phone calls, except it's an entire phone with minutes built into it. And AT&T does this. That's called the Go Phone. It's a pay-as-you-go phone. The chat room seems to agree that the best deal is from Virgin Mobile. They use the Sprint network. So one thing you want to check is to see how Sprint is in your neck of the woods, places you might be going in your car.
Yeah, what I'm looking for is that, by the minutes, there's no monthly charge, there's no minimum usage, like the minutes don't never expire.
Right.
So
here's the deal. The Virgin Mobile is like $5 a month. There is a monthly fee, but the minutes don't expire. They roll over. You have it forever. If you don't want to even pay $1 a month, then this net10.com is the choice. It's basically you buy a phone for $25. It's got 750 minutes. And I don't know what the expiration is. There will be some expiration. Occasionally you'll have to kind of recharge it. But it's very inexpensive. So those are the two I would compare. And what I would look at is coverage. Now, Sprint's really good. You can look at the Sprint coverage map on their site and see how it is in Minnesota or the places that you're going.
Yeah, it'd be Midwest, Minnesota, Wisconsin.
Sprint's based in Kansas City, so I think it's going to be pretty good. But, Sprint is Southern Pacific. Basically, they made a phone company because they had all these rights of ways with the railroad. And so they were able to put cell sites in very inexpensively. That's kind of how Sprint got started. So I would certainly check that. And then the Net10 uses Verizon. So what I would check what I would check is, or U.S. Cellular, which is Midwest. That's in Chicago. I would check those 3 coverage maps based on U.S. Cellular, Verizon, and Sprint. See who covers the areas you drive to. Because, what's really going to be frustrating is if you break down in a rural area that doesn't have any cell coverage. So you want to make sure the coverage is everywhere you go. Net 10 uses AT&T. I'm sorry, AT&T, not Verizon. My apologies. So you're checking AT&T, Sprint, U.S. Cellular. See which one has the best coverage. All 3 you can get burners, as we call them. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. And it's time to talk computers, the internet, cell phones, camcorders, MP3 players, home theater, and ham radio. I'll just throw that in. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. Love to hear from you. You can also visit our chat room, watch the video coming from our studios and all of that by visiting the website, techguylabs.com, techguylabs.com. Or see our new website for the network, TWiT.tv, TWiT.tv. Thanks to Jim at jimsengraving.com. He does Ham Shack stuff. So I have my call sign, W6TWT, and a nice light thing. And he just sent me a mug, which was nice, too, with the call sign on it. That's cool. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. Brian in Santa Ana, you're next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hey, Brian. Hello, Brian.
Well, I don't hear anything at all, so I'm going to put...
Oh, there he is. He came back. You ran back to the phone. Hey, Brian.
Hi, Leo. Well, it must be a hammy kind of day because this is Kilo Delta 6, Hotel Delta Sierra.
Hello, Kilo Delta 6, Delta Echo. What is it? Delta Echo Sierra?
Hotel Delta Sierra.
Hotel Delta Sierra. Nice to talk to you.
Okay.
By the way, I got it, and I've been told this, and I know it because I took the test. We on the amateur radio bands, no commercial traffic allowed. But I guess on the commercial bands, which we're on right now, you can do anything you want. So we can say hi and all of that stuff. We just couldn't rebroadcast. I know Art Bell would, at the end of his show on Coast to Coast, he would say, "Okay, now I'm going to continue the show at 20-meter band," and he'd just go and he'd start talking to people on the ham radio band, which is really cool, really fun. One of these days I'll get to that point. We need to get our antennas in and all of that stuff. So what can I do for you, Brian?
Well, I've got kind of an odd problem. I recently had my solid-state drive die, so I was trying to reinstall Windows, and I discovered my computer apparently can't boot to a CD on a serial ATA DVD-ROM drive. But if I stick an old IDE one in, it works fine. I've tried 2 different serial ATA DVDs, and neither one will let any of my boot disks boot.
You looked in the BIOS, right?
The BIOS is set to a DAPI mode, which is what the SSD requires. I don't know if would that block the...
Well, look at the boot order in your BIOS.
Oh, yeah, I double-checked that, and I actually even used the BIOS to hit the boot to DVD-ROM. Sometimes I get the press key to boot to DVD-ROM. Sometimes I just get a boot manager error when I try to force it to boot to the DVD.
Right. I'm guessing that there is something in BIOS setup that talks about boot order and perhaps is selecting one DVD over the other. The chat room's telling me, somebody in the chat room, Whiskey 8 Kilo Whiskey Alpha in the chat room is saying some DVD ROM readers don't allow booting. I guess you could have one of those. I've never heard of that, but I guess you could have one of those. Do you have any did any documentation come with that new drive?
No, they're both little OEM cheapies from the way.
Right, because sometimes you want to look and see if there's jumper settings, perhaps. I guess is it SATA?
Yeah, both the drives that don't work are SATA. The one that does work is IDE.
Yeah. Okay, so they're on different chains. So I would guess what that means is that your BIOS, which is responsible for all this, the basic input-output system, it's the first thing that happens when you turn on a computer is BIOS wakes up. It's basically a little mini operating system that then says, okay, now load the big guy from the hard drive. But that BIOS is what determines which drives get looked at in boot. And I would guess that the BIOS says I can see an IDE drive to boot, but I can't see a SATA drive to boot. I would guess that.
Right. The IDE wasn't in there when I was trying to boot to the SATAs, and I had to put it in to actually get the operating system loaded.
I would check to see. Now, it's funny because if your motherboard has SATA connectors on it, right?
Yeah, a dozen of them.
Yeah, so the motherboard was designed for SATA, so I would guess its BIOS would be SATA aware, but maybe there's an update. And look and see if there's an update for the BIOS.
Newest BIOS.
Newest BIOS. Jay Slow in our chat room said, I once had this issue, had to swap the drive locations. But you've tried all the SATA connectors now, right?
I tried like 3 of them, but I don't know if that would be. I didn't try them all because there's like.
Well, yeah, you don't want to try them all. I would guess I would dig back into that BIOS setup and see in the settings if there is I'm almost certain there'd be a difference between booting to the IDE chain and booting to the SATA chain. And so just say boot from the CD-DVD, that wouldn't be enough. Which CD-DVD? And maybe the BIOS is assuming that the CD-DVD is always on IDE. That would be a mistake, clearly, on a SATA-based motherboard. But I would guess, Brian, you got me. I mean, the chat room has given you a couple of suggestions. My best guess would be look in the setup and look really closely at boot order and see if there's a way to get a SATA CD to boot first. Somebody said, get a Mac. That is not an answer I'm allowed, I'm afraid. Rusty, Corona, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Leo.
Hey, Rusty.
You're making it okay for all the geeky hams to come out and say, I'm a ham too.
I know. You know, it's really interesting. I didn't realize, because I admit, you know, you talked to me a year ago, I would say, ham. Who needs ham radio? I got a cell phone that can call any country in the world. I got an internet. I can listen to any radio station in the world. I don't need ham.
I think we call the cell phone 11 centimeters. I think that's what.
Yeah, aka CB or something, right?
They have here.
Yeah, no, but there's a couple of points to be made. One is that in an emergency, in a hurricane, earthquake, a tsunami, everything goes out, including the internet and cell phone service. And very often it's only the hams. Certainly was true during Katrina. It was true in Alabama. It's been true during Irene. Only the hams are there for emergency communications. And I think that hams are very proud of that, as they should be. But let me just also point out, it's a fun hobby, and that's all it is. I mean, let's say it's a hobby, and if you're interested in how radio works, you learn so much about electronics. If you are a digital kind of guy, ham radios interface with digital going back to the days of phone patches, where before cell phones, you were able to make phone calls over ham radio, long-distance phone calls, by patching into an auto patch on a ham system somewhere. So hams have very much been a part of the digital revolution. There's Echolink and a D-Star and there are APRs. There's all sorts of digital technologies, and you don't do it because there isn't another way to do it. You don't do it. You don't stop doing it because Skype exists. You do it because it's fun and it's interesting. So
fun to play.
It's play.
I'll tell you the hard thing about it, but I shouldn't say the hard thing, but the tricky thing. You mentioned it maybe last week, the week before, is the whole idea of batteries and generators, and that's where I have completely fallen down. My radios are great when I got power.
Right. Yeah, if you want to participate in emergency services, and that's one of the things we are setting up this ham shack here to do, you do have to pay attention to, well, what happens if there's no power?
Yeah.
But your handy-talkie works.
Yeah.
For a few hours, yeah. Well, but the handy-talkie, believe it or not, just this little battery-powered handy-talkie is probably the thing you would use most in an emergency. You don't need to you don't need to be calling Turkestan during an emergency. You want to you want to call somebody and say, hey, there's flooding on this street.
Yep. Yeah. Hey, Leo, my question ultimately is how do I get heard? But my little questions are these. I'm a musician. I have a website, and I'll give myself a shameless plug if you'll let me.
Please, yes.
It's www.rustyperez.com, R-U-S as in Sam, T-Y-P-E-R-E-Z.com. And the issue is this. I got the music, I'm on iTunes and Amazon, and I've got the Facebook, but I'm trying to figure out, okay, how do I spread the word wider? I play each weekend and, get a little play, but I'm trying to figure out if there are.
Hang on, Rusty, because this is a larger question about how do I market in the internet age, and I'm going to answer that when we come back. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Great Bruno Mars. I love this song, and I especially love the Leonard Nimoy music video that goes with this. They made an alternate. You can see it on YouTube. If you search for Bruno Mars, Leonard Nimoy on YouTube, you can see Leonard Nimoy. It has you've never seen him before. He's definitely not Spock in this one. Perhaps a little adult for some, so not horribly so, but not for the little kids. 8888 Ask Leo. That is my phone number, 888-827-5536. We're looking at Rusty's site, rustyperez.com. He is a guitarist, singer, and live looper. What's a live looper?
You know what that is?
No.
Live looping is a way of recording digitally what you're playing live, and then playing it back in a loop, and then playing or singing or something over the top of it.
Oh, that's cool.
So I got my guitar plugged into what is essentially a digital recorder at my feet. Of course, it doesn't look like a digital recorder.
Right.
And so I might tap out a beat on the guitar, just on the body of it, and then have that loop, and then play over the top of that, and have that loop, and then play a little guitar solo or sing a song or whatever. So it's kind of a way of creating background music to what you're doing on the fly. It's pretty fun.
So on your website, you're doing a number of things. You've got a fan page on Facebook. Very good.
Yeah.
You've got a link to your upcoming concerts. I'd roll that a little higher on the page.
Okay.
So there's something that comes from the newspaper business we call, but it applies to web too, above the fold. In the newspaper business, they always talk about above the fold. It's very important. When you have a piece of a paper newspaper, it's only the stuff above the fold that gets read. It's like the front page of a magazine or the cover of a magazine. And then anything below the fold is kind of secondary. Same thing on a web page. Well, of course, there's no fold on a web page, but there is what we see on the web page before we scroll. And now every screen is a different size, so you can't assume, I would assume generally at least 1024 by 768. And kind of look at what you see, in other words, in the first, say, 700 pixels of the page. That's the most important stuff. And you've got some free space here. That's where I'd put the upcoming show. That's where I'd put at least your best song. Because then that's what people are going to see. And sometimes they will scroll down, but you can't count on that. So you want to make sure that the good stuff, and there's some really good stuff here below the fold, shows up. For instance, the song you wrote for 9/11, I'd put that right above the fold in the left column there. That left column's unused.
All right.
See, what I'm saying is you want to make sure that when people come to the site, you put your best foot forward, and that's everything that's above the fold, below, above the part where you scroll to. Use that as best you can.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, and that really wasn't what I was thinking about, but that's great information.
Well, and I'll tell you why I bring this up, because marketing all does one thing, which is drives people to your web page. So the website, first of all, you got to have the website. It's great to have a fan page on Facebook. In fact, you could drive people to the fan page. The only reason I'd say not to is because Facebook owns it, not you. And Facebook, if they decide that they don't like you, there goes the fan page. It's important. The fan page has on the other side. I'll give you the other hand. On the fan page, because it's part of Facebook, it drives a ton of traffic. People can like you. When they like you, it shows up in their Facebook feed, so they're telling other people, I like Rusty Perez. So it has this great grassroots marketing impact. So I would essentially treat your web page and your Facebook fan page in parallel. You need to have both of them work. And when you're on Facebook, drive people there. When you drive people to the website, very prominently right on the website, as you have, but again, not prominent enough, it's below the fold, have like me. Like me.
I get it. Okay.
You see what I'm saying? You look what's below the fold on your page. Above the fold, iTunes users. That's good. Amazon, that's good. Those are places they can buy your new albums. You're treating this like a blog, but then as we scroll down, I see your new song. That's way below the fold. I see your schedule. That's way below the fold. I see the Like My Fan page. That should be that like button. You don't have to say anything. Just put that like. Every Facebook guy knows that like button, what that like button does. Put that like button right up there at the top of the page. Okay. Similarly, you might want to put a Google plus one.
Yeah.
Google's announced, in effect, that +1 now will go to web search results as well. That's a way of improving your search ranking. Put a +1 button on there. Then I really think your virtual tip jar, that's at the bottom of the page. It's almost as if you didn't want them to give you any money, Rusty.
Well, hey, I'd rather they buy the music before they put something in there.
Okay. Well, that's a good point. That's a good point. Maybe don't do the tip jar then. You don't want to overdo.
That's kind of what I was feeling in a way. I mean, I've got my little Twitter feed there with just.
I love that. Put that up front too.
Jesus.
Put that up front too. Now it's a little bit of a balancing act how you get everything above the fold, but and you got to balance it and put the things that are most important. Similarly, you're not going to put a Twitter feed on your Facebook page, but you're going to put a lot of that same content there on the Facebook page. Now, how do we okay, so very first thing everybody needs to do is cultivate their web presence so that when you get people there, you grab them, you get them involved. What you're looking to do, no matter what it is that you do, whether it's a musician, a video maker, a blogger, a podcaster, artist, whatever it is you're doing on the web, think of building a community around it. That's the thing that's your goal. A community of Rusty Perez fans. Because that's who's going to come to your shows, that's who's going to buy your albums, that's who's going to tell friends. And all you need to do is get 1,000 of them. And from there, everything else. Justin Bieber started with 1,000 fans. That's it. When you get to that 1,000, the snowball rolls.
I'm not nearly as cute as Justin Bieber, though.
Well, we all have to face the fact that maybe we're not the next Justin Bieber. I'm watching the Dexter set, and I'm thinking, boy, this is what I always wanted to do, but, it's a little late for me. So, we just have to live with the fact that we are what we are, but take what we've got and maximize it, right?
That little piece.
Yeah, and you can't live in envy of others. You just have to make what you make and make the best art you can, and then make sure people can find you. So now, that's the next thing. Now we've created the perfect web presence. And again, it should really be Facebook. I would say I'd include Google Plus now. I'm seeing a lot of artists make great strides in Google Plus. This is going to be as important as Twitter and Facebook in my mind. Twitter is a little less valuable because all you can put is little short blurbs up there, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of hard to get people to follow you, find you, and use Twitter. I'm not convinced Twitter is a great publicity vehicle, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it can take a lot of work on your part.
Yeah.
So the next thing is, how do you build a community? Because that's really what you want to do. And what you want is when that community arrives, you've got a great place for them to participate. You might even put some forums or some sort of comments or interaction. Your goal is to have a two-way conversation with your fans, to build a community. And that is the goal. That is the thing that makes a Justin Bieber, a Lady Gaga, anybody nowadays succeed.
Leo, is there a directory of podcasts or blogs that is arranged or that you can search by category or subject?
No.
No?
Google. Just think how people nowadays, they Google it, period. Maybe they Bing it. So, okay, we're going to take another break. When we come back, how do you get people to go to that great web presence? Leo Laporte, the tech guy. It's a great topic, a topic we spend a lot of time talking about, which is, namely, how do I get big on the internet? And it's always been difficult to succeed as an artist. In the old days, the way you'd succeed as an artist, the thing every artist wanted to do was get a record deal, right? Oh, If we could only get signed. I remember reading Keith Richards' biography, and the Stones lived to get signed. And if you get signed, you got a couple of things. The record studio would advance you the money. They don't pay for it, but they'd advance you the money to record that album. And studio time was very expensive. You had to do that. It was hundreds of thousands of dollars to make an album. And then, having made the album, if you were lucky, they'd get the A&R guy and the record representatives to go around the radio stations, get airplay. Maybe then, if you were lucky and the song took off, you'd have a hit, and maybe you'd make that money back. And if you're really lucky and you're the Rolling Stones or you're AC/DC or you're Aerosmith or Metallica, you'd make a lot of money. But those days, I think, are gone. I don't think, for one thing, you need the record company to make the album.
No.
You could do it yourself for nothing. All you need is a laptop computer. I just bought this for my son, who's a aspiring musician. He's 17 years old. This is from a company called Zoom. It's their R8 recorder interface controller sampler. This thing is an 8-track recorder, records on SD, kind of like the old recorders that, the Fostex or others that they record on a cassette deck, except this is super high quality recording. It's got microphone inputs, instrument inputs, and then it also has a drum sampler in it. And it's got, this thing's amazing. It's a whole music studio in there, and you attach that to a computer with a program like Pro Tools or maybe something easier like Logic, and bing, you've got the best recording studio ever. So you don't need the record industry for that. Their marketing arms are weak. They don't help you anymore. So really, it's up to you no matter what. So what do you need the record deal for? Now you got to figure it out. And this is a brave new world. How do we get the word out? And that's the trick, again, is to understand that you're building a community around yourself. The community size doesn't have to be huge. 1,000 people is enough to make you a huge superstar, because that snowballs from there. 1,000 people is kind of critical, what we call critical mass. That's when the nuclear reaction, the chain reaction, can start to happen. So how do we get the first 1,000 people? Well, you go out there and you participate. You go out to other communities. You say, "Hey, I'm a musician." Go to places where your fans might congregate and get them to participate. Participate with them, and that's how you do it.
So you're talking like a discussion list.
Join forums, discussion lists. But remember, you're going where the fans are, not other musicians. Although it's not a bad idea to go where other musicians are to kind of share ideas. This is a website called promotethemusic.com. Chatroom just told me about this, where they're doing a webcast on the 24th of September talking about what if we did things differently. A new way and better payday for artists and music lovers. So there are others in your boat, many. And don't see them as competitors, by the way.
No.
See them as colleagues.
People to learn from. Oh, yeah, I've got a bunch of friends that I work, alongside. Of course, we never get to go to each other's shows because I'm always playing with...
That's fine. And that's one good thing I love about musicians is there is this sense of camaraderie.
In some circles. In some.
Yeah, and then you start making money, and they're out to get you. we're only comrades when we're all suffering and struggling together. But that's true in every business, let me tell you. But I do think that we're inventing this as we go. There is no magic bullet for anybody. But the good news is the tools are there to make this stuff, whether it's video, blogging, podcasting, music, on your own dime, so you own it. And then I would look at people like Jonathan Colton. Jonathan Colton's a great example of an artist who didn't sign, probably could have, but found ways to get his music out there, create a community around that music, and is doing quite well, thank you, on his own website. And he doesn't need Warner Brothers. He doesn't need EMI. He does it all himself. Colton is spelled, Jonathan Colton is Jonath. Actually, Google Joko. That's probably the way to do it. Google J. You know him?
No.
You know of him? Yeah.
It's C-O or K-O for Colton.
Yeah, it's Coulton.
No, I'm not familiar with him, but I'll definitely go look him up.
He's an example of an artist who did a number of things that helped promote him. He had some luck. Look, there's a lot of luck involved. One of the things that he did that was very successful, he ended up writing a song for a game that no one thought was going to be huge, that in fact was huge, called Portal. He wrote the closing number. That song became huge for him. There's lots of different ways, But one of the things he did I think was really smart was, and look how long he's been doing this, since 2005, okay? It doesn't happen overnight, is he did something he called Thing a Week, where he was going to put out a new song every week. And he encouraged people, gave away a lot of music, still gives away a lot of music. If you search for Joko, there's a lot you can hear. But then he also sells his music on CD Baby, on Amazon, at live shows. You can download it from iTunes. And most importantly, and he even says it on his website, best for me if you buy them here on his own web store. And he doesn't use copy protection. I ended up, because I love his music so much, he has a single button push that you get all of his songs for $70. And I bought them all. I said, yeah, I'll take them all. Jonathan is a good model for how you can do this yourself and be successful. Now, his music's very accessible, admittedly. He's very popular with the geek crowd. That helps because it's geeks who know about this and are willing to buy music online and all that stuff. But I think that he's just put out a new album, Artificial Heart. He's a very good example, a role model for musicians who say, I want to do this without a record label. I want to do this on my own terms. The good news is times have changed and you can now. And I think that's great. This R8 is so cool. It's so amazing. I mean, this is $300. It's essentially an 8-track recorder mixer that you plug in it's got 2 mics. It's got inputs for guitars. And it's got a sampler. It works with the computer, or you record onto an SD card that's built into the thing. You record right to the memory in the thing. You can carry this. You could carry this on the road with you. $300. It's remarkable, and the sound quality is superb. I tell you, we're in a wonderful age, a wonderful time for a creator. Kevin in Florida, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Kevin.
Hey, Leo. I've been watching you since the screensavers, and actually you're the inspiration for my question here. I live near a retired community, and once a month I volunteer and I teach them. I taught them installing Firefox using add-ons, how to back up your computer with Carbonite, Drive Image.
Oh, that's great, Kevin. That is so great. I bet they love that.
And we also offer, for $5 during the month of February, March, twice a week, they can learn computer basics, email, and all that. And with your large user base, I was wondering if you could give me some pointers on what else I should or could be teaching them.
Do you teach them security?
I've taught them how to update their antivirus, install. I recommend them. I know you like Nod, but they're limited income, so they tend to use Avast, AVG, security.
I would say use Security Essentials. Don't use the others anymore.
That's actually the last couple months. That's what I've been pushing. The Security Essentials.
Yeah, I think you're on the right track. Those are the key things. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I think you found Kyle Benham, who's a master of finding stuff on the internet. That is Jonathan Colton and me performing, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
You look good in that hat.
So that was a Jonathan Colton's. We were talking about him earlier, about how he was the master of making his own way in the music industry. And his song, Still Alive, which was the closing credits for a game called Portal that was a breakout game. Nobody knew it was going to be a hit. And so he was very fortunate, right? And that song is great and became a hit. And got optioned by Rock Band. You know, the game Rock Band, where you play, you can buy audio packs or song packs, and one of the song packs had Still Alive. And so when that came out, Jonathan Colton was in the Bay Area here performing at the Great American Music Hall, and he invited me and some other well-known internet types, Veronica Belmont and Merlin Mann, to join him on stage playing the Rock Band version of Still Alive. He sang it. Now, I had never played Rock Band before. This was all new to me. And Rock Band is just like Guitar Hero, where you have, but it's kind of cool because you have a whole band. So Veronica was on guitar, Merlin was on drums, I was on bass, and Jonathan was keyboards and singing. And you have that, and it's on the screen. It's a video game. We had it on the screen behind us. You can find this video on YouTube. And you know, they're little cheesy plastic instruments, but you still, just like Guitar Hero, you have to press the buttons in the right order, in the right time sequence. It's not like playing an instrument. Actually, the new versions of Rock Band, they do have real instruments and the ability to learn how to play an instrument, which I think is great. But this was a time when it was just, you know, a game. And I was terrible. I don't think I made it through the whole song. But it was sure fun, and my one and only time performing with a performer on stage in front of a live audience, and it was great. I had a great big cowboy hat and a Conway. I looked like Conway Twitty. I had a big cowboy shirt with fringes and a see. I had the look down. I just didn't have the musical chops. Sometimes it's good to have both. Kevin's on the line from Florida. We've been talking about something he does, which is great, which is he teaches seniors in his free time. He teaches seniors how to use computers. So you teach them good stuff, how to install Firefox. I think that's great. How to secure the computer.
Yep, we've also covered Carbonite and Drive Image XML, how to back
So backing up, that's good. I would definitely show them how to use email. I think seniors especially, email is wonderful. It's how they can stay in touch with friends, family.
Yep, we've covered email. We've actually even they wanted to learn about Facebook, so we covered the good and the bad, the privacy settings, and all that.
Yeah, that's one thing I would make sure that you don't be, and I would do this, ageist about it, and assume that. Oh, they're too old. They're not going to be interested in Twitter or Facebook. They want to know. I mean, they read in the newspaper. They hear it on the news. They hear about this. They want to know. Now, maybe they won't use it. I think Facebook is fantastic for seniors because they can reconnect with old friends. It's a social environment for them, and especially if it's hard for them to get around or they don't drive anymore. It's great. Now, my mom won't do Facebook. Because she doesn't want to reconnect with all those people. She's kind of antisocial. And I'm the same way. It's like Facebook I have mixed feelings about. But so it depends on the person. But I think social networking, great idea. I would also look at social or casual gaming. I think
Pogo, they all love Pogo.
Great. And Yahoo Games is great. Careful with the Farmville. My mom has become a We Rule fanatic. She also plays Scrabble, Words with Friends, things like that. I think they're great. So what I would say is think of activities they can do online, because I think a lot of what happens to people is they've got a computer, they've got all this stuff, and then they go, but what do I do? It's not that much fun. So give them something that they can go every day and play a game or meet people online. I think those are all good. How about you, chat room? Is there anything else? What do you think Kevin should teach seniors to do? Not World of Warcraft, right? Yes? World of Warcraft? Have you tried that? Have you tried massively multiplayer online role-playing games? I
try and recommend open source software to them, free software.
Yeah, because they're on a budget. And, World of Warcraft is a monthly fee. And let me think what else. We talked about security. Of course, you probably do spend some time talking about phishing scams. They really tend to prey on seniors. And there is a wonderful site. The open, what is it called? The phishingworkgroup.org. Let me see if I can find the site, because it is a great site, because they have in their database real phishing emails. And it's very, I think, eye-opening for them to see how real these emails look. So if you go to antifishing.org, it's the anti-phishing working group. It's a bunch of good companies working together, and they do some really good education. I think that's a good site to bring them to, and say how to avoid phishing scams, what to do if you've given out personal financial information. Probably the best thing you can do is teach people, not just seniors, everybody, to be a little skeptical. When somebody says, this is your bank and we're going to close your account and blah, 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 go to the database of phishing emails. It's kind of mind-boggling.
I'm on the site now looking.
Yeah, just great. If they read these emails, it looks like they've hidden. I'm trying to find it. They used to have it right on the front page, a link to their database. It's somewhere in here, I'm sure. They'll read those and they'll be shocked at how realistic. And then that'll help them understand how not to get hooked by these phishing scams. One thing that's kind of interesting is that many of the scams online are just retreads of the old con games. And tell them that. Say, you remember the Sting? Con artists? Well, guess what? They don't have to work on the streets anymore. They work on the internet. And it's the same guys with the same silly scams. Great tip from J5, Jay Halgren, in our chat room. And I do recommend this, Snopes.com. I get a lot of emails, as they get online, from people who say, oh, man, Bill Gates is sending money to people who use Windows, or all those crazy emails. And what you got to do is train them to go to Snopes, SNOPES.com, before they pass on any of that email. Read about all the scams, and they just tell them, if you want to find out if these urban legends are true, you can go to Snopes.com, search for, the subject line in that email, and you will find all the silly, stupid scams and urban legends that get passed around. Read Snopes. It's a great site. It's a couple that created this originally just as a altruistic thing, and they've got ads on it now. I hope they're making their money back. But boy, this is a great site for everybody to know about. Snopes.com. So there's a scam going on right now. Just happened to a woman who bought a iPad in the parking lot. Okay, right there, you should go. Alarms should go off in your mind. She bought a parking lot iPad at McDonald's, and at the back of an Impala, $180. When she got home, she opened the FedEx box, and yeah, there was an iPad in there, made out of wood. It was a wooden iPad. The Daily News reports that the two men, one of whom had a gold tooth, that's an interesting detail, had told her they bought iPads in bulk and were now selling them out of their car at a deep discount. This young lady, she's not a senior, said that sounded reasonable. $180. What a deal. They're out there. Hey, let's take a quick break, come back with more. We were talking about antiviruses, and there's one and only one that I recommend. It's called Nod32 for Windows. It is from a company called ESET. Just remember the name ESET, ESET.com. They make the antivirus I recommend for Windows or Mac. They now have cybersecurity for the Mac, and it's just good. It does what you want. It's fast, doesn't slow your computer down, doesn't get in the way. It's very effective. CNET gave it 5 out of 5 stars in Editor's Choice. The prestigious antivirus bulletin said that Nod32, the Windows version, hadn't missed a virus in the wild in 10 years. The cybersecurity for the Mac I really like because they realize Mac users have been kind of not worrying about viruses and maybe need a little more education, so they have a whole educational component that tells you what not to do on the Internet. Nod32 for Windows, cybersecurity for the Mac, both from ESET, ESET.com. If you go to ESET.com/Mac, you get 30 days free for the Mac. ESET.com/Leo, 30 days free for Windows. And don't forget to like ESET USA on Facebook to stay looped in on their contests and special offers and exclusive content. If you use Windows or Mac, you need ESET. More to come right after this. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, cell phones, camcorders, MP3 players, and the like. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. If you have a question, a comment, a suggestion, if you'd like to talk high tech, I'd love to talk to you. 888-827-5536, toll free from anywhere in the U.S. Or Canada. Of course, the big story of the week is that the Department of Justice has told AT&T, no, you can't buy T-Mobile for $39 billion. No. We'll see what happens. A lot of times, a judge is now in charge. A judge will make the decision. The judge in charge of this, the District of Columbia courts, is known for, A, not always doing what the government asks her to do, and B, moving very quickly. So we should hear from this very quickly. It is possible that the government will get together with AT&T and they'll work out a deal. But I hope they don't allow the merger. I'm not a big fan of government intervention in business. I understand the risks inherent in that. But I think this is one case where there really is a good case for not allowing the merger. AT&T merging with T-Mobile would mean there would be only one carrier in the U.S. that offers phones that work on the GSM system. Now, that system is one of two in the U.S., but is almost exclusively used worldwide. So if you want to go to France or Asia or Africa, you need a GSM phone. That would give them a pretty big monopoly in the U.S. It would also mean that AT&T T-Mobile would be the largest phone company in the U.S. by far. Number two would be Verizon, and way in the back of the pack, Sprint. It'd be very likely that because of that, Sprint would have a difficult time competing and would probably be picked off by one of the other two, giving us only two phone companies. You see how quickly it can devolve into a pretty bad situation for consumers. Lack of choice, lack of options. So we'll see what the judge does, but I do hope that she agrees with the Department of Justice that this just isn't good for us and blocks that. Ellen S. Huvel is the judge, and she is called a judicial machine because she processes cases so efficiently. She did rule against the Justice Department in 2001 on an antitrust case. They were trying to block a merger between two computer disaster companies. A merger that would have given the combined company 70% of the market, but the judge said that the business was so constantly changing that competitors could easily enter the market. She had a point, and in fact, I think that you probably don't even remember the companies, I don't, that were involved in this case in 2001. A little different with the phone companies. There's a huge barrier to entry. It's not easy at all for somebody to become a wireless company. So if AT&T becomes dominant, then second, Verizon, maybe a distant third, Sprint, it's not like somebody can come along and say, hey, I'd like to compete in that marketplace. A shrinking marketplace there is permanently shrunken. So I don't think that she could use that argument. She did say, I have no interest in the politics of the case. She said, half the cases before me have a lot of noise around them. I think my job is to look at the law and the facts. So it'll be very interesting to see what the final decision. It was Comdisco and SunGard. Remember that? Comdisco and SunGard. That in 2001 case. And that she just threw that one right out. She did not go for the Justice Department's complaint. Now, if the deal falls through, it'll be interesting because there is a breakup cost. AT&T has to pay equivalent of $7 billion to Deutsche Telekom, the owners of T-Mobile, $3 billion in cash, and then grants of frequency spectrum and others that value another $3 or $4 billion. So it's going to cost AT&T a lot of money if this gets thrown out that they get nothing for, no value for at all. Which just tells you the negotiators at T-Mobile were pretty good. Big story floating around right now about an iPhone being lost again. Last week, CNET reported that San Francisco police had teamed up with Apple to investigate yet another lost iPhone prototype. We're all pretty much in agreement, all the tech press, that we're going to see a new iPhone, whether it'll be called the iPhone 4S or the iPhone 5 come October. Apparently, an Apple employee went to a bar in San Francisco. Sounds like a joke. An Apple employee walks into a bar. It was a tequila bar. The employee perhaps had a little too much of that tequila and left the new iPhone in the bar. CNET said police investigators traced the phone to a house of a man in a neighborhood in San Francisco, but he denied knowing anything about it. Here's what's odd. CNET's a pretty reliable journalistic entity. I trust them. But another newspaper in San Francisco, the SF Weekly, called the San Francisco Police Department. They said, no, we don't have any record of that investigation, CNET said, yeah, we got the same answer from police, but we ran the story because we had an informer who was familiar with the investigation. Well, I don't know if if the police say no, it didn't happen. You kind of have to believe them, don't you? On the other hand, it's pretty credible that another Apple employee might have lost that phone. When you get close to the release date on a phone, it becomes very important that you actually test it. FCC will test it, but not for the kinds of things you care about. like those antenna issues that the iPhone 4 was notorious for. So it is very common for Apple employees to walk around with prototype phones as much as 6 months before the release of the phone, testing it in different neighborhoods, testing the camera, using it. Oh, now there's an update to the story, Ian tells me, that says the police say, yeah, maybe we were investigating. Very confusing. SFPD says, yeah, we helped Apple. Yeah, there was something going on. If you're a Netflix fan, you might be disappointed to hear that the Netflix is struggling. Not financially. In fact, they're very popular. Every geek I know has a Netflix account. But one of their streaming partners is Starz. In fact, most of the new movies on Netflix streaming are from the Starz, S-T-A-R-Z network. Netflix had been negotiating a renewal of that Starz contract, but the contract does expire in February of 2012. And apparently Starz has walked away from the negotiation table. So that is a big chunk of videos that will be gone from Netflix streaming. Not the DVD service, but the streaming service. The DVD service has been under a lot of pressure from Hollywood. They've compelled them, for instance, to wait 30 days before they get their DVDs after the DVD's release to make sure that the DVD sales are strong before people start renting, things like that. I wouldn't count Netflix out. I think they're a smart company. I think they're run by a very smart fellow, Reed Hastings, and I suspect, Reed's even said, well, thanks to the early notice on this, we're going to have time to line up some other content. But you got to remember that there's a lot of pressure from cable companies who would like you to pay for these movies $7 or $8 a pop in video on demand. There's pressure from the movie industry as well. See, it's we consumers who love Netflix. It's a great deal for us. But the other players aren't crazy about it. Think about if you're Comcast, for instance, #1 internet service provider in the country, as well as the #1 television cable company. Comcast makes a lot of money, for instance, renting you HBO or Showtime or those movies on demand. A lot more money than they make on the data. What is it, $40, $50 a month for data from Comcast for internet service? So their problem is if you buy just the data from them and then pay Netflix $8 a month, you don't need their expensive HBO or video on demand. It puts them out of business. They don't like that. So there's a lot of pressure on these guys right now. 8888 Ask Leo. We'll go to the phones right after this.
Makes her clothes fall off.
Woohoo! Tequila not only makes her clothes fall off, makes her lose her iPhone. Kyle Benham playing the great music. I love it. Gina Yates on the phone today. We are having fun here at the Tech Guy Show. This is actually, get this story, the plot thickens. I was not up to date on the latest. So I mentioned that there was a story, the CNET reported, that an Apple next generation iPhone prototype was lost in a tequila bar in San Francisco, and that the SF police had been involved in the attempt to recover it. San Francisco Weekly magazine calls the police. Police say, nah, we don't know anything about that. Then it comes out that SF Weekly does some more investigation. Yes, in fact, the SFPD did informally help Apple investigate this phone. That 6 badge-wearing visitors in July came to the home of one Sergio Calderon in San Francisco, claiming to be SFPD, and said, "May we search your home for this phone?" Calderon, thinking they were the police, said yes. Apparently the police, the actual 4 investigators who had accompanied Apple investigators, remained outside, while 2 Apple investigators went inside, scouring Calderon's home, car, and computer files for traces of the lost iPhone 5. Calderon says, "I never had it. The phone was not found." And apparently, they gave him a phone number, which San Francisco Weekly called, and in fact, it did belong to a Apple employee who was an investigator, Calderon said that the two Apple employees, not the police, but the two Apple employees, he thought they were the police at the time. They did not make that clear. They carried badges. That these two Apple investigators threatened him and his family, asking questions about their immigration status. Calderon said, one said, is everyone in this house an American citizen? They said, you're all going to get into trouble. Now, it's illegal, of course, to improperly identify yourself as a police officer. They were accompanied by SFPD, but they, according to Calderon, did not disclose that they were private security investigators. Calderon said they all said they were SFPD. That's why I let them in. We've heard before about Apple's aggressiveness in tracing lost items like this. In fact, there was some concern last year that Apple had influenced the local DA to pursue this investigation well beyond anything justified by the value of the lost item. SFPD says, quote, Apple came to us saying they were looking for a lost item, and some plainclothes officers responded to the house with them. SFPD spokesman said, my understanding is they stood outside. They just assisted Apple to the address. Yesterday, SFPD spokesman said, we don't have any record of such an investigation going on at this point. They just helped him to the place and then let the Apple investigators strong-arm this guy. Never did find the phone. I think you got a little mess on your hands here. I hate to say it. Doesn't look good. And all this for what? A prototype of something that we're all going to see in a month. Come on. Carl, Eagle Rock, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Carl.
Hi, Leo. I'm trying to watch the UCLA Houston game on the TV. I cut the cord on my PC. I cut the cord a while back on cable and satellite, but everywhere I look, it seems like they're just a bunch of sleazy sites trying to get...
Yeah, because they'll say, free satellite TV is nothing. If you're lucky, you'll get Colombian soccer.
Well, that's my point. Do you have any recommendations?
NFL.com.
Well, this would be college football.
Oh, it's college.
Sounds fun.
What I would check is the colleges. More and more colleges are doing this, and to great effect. Because if you think about it, college boosters are a big part of the donors to colleges, but at least colleges where football is a big part of their program. And I know a number of, I think Auburn does this, a lot of colleges will do this. They will stream the games on the internet for the boosters. You might have to join the booster club and pay a fee. In fact, I'm almost certain you would. But I would check if you really want to watch that college football game. The people who own the rights are the colleges and the NCAA. So if you look at the NCAA site and you look at the college sites and none of them are streaming it, then I would not go anywhere. I would, a Google search is going to give you, as you said, a lot of weird stuff. Now, somebody's saying ESPN3. ESPN3 is cool because that's ESPN's internet-only site, and I use that for a lot of major sporting events that you can't see on TV. Cord cutting is the thing now, isn't it? Where you don't have, and this is, remember I was talking about how upset Comcast is about Netflix? This is the thing they worry the most about. So ESPN3 does, in fact, have college football. So if ESPN, it depends who has the rights to this, right? ESPN has the rights to some college games. If they have the rights to this, that's the place to look. And I don't know if ESPN does the thing, and this is unfortunate. I'm seeing a lot of sites do this. HBO does this. If you can watch HBO on your iPad or your computer with HBO Go, but in order to do it, you've got to have a cable contract for HBO. So you can't really be a cord cutter, can you? And this is the pressure that the cable companies put on HBO, and HBO needs the cable companies. They can't be a cord cutter, right? So they have deals with the cable companies. The cable companies in these deals say, you may not, I remember this because we had this at Tech TV, you may not stream your content on the internet. You can't go around us, in other words. You have to go through the cable company. And I imagine what happened with HBO and NFL and others is they go to the cable company and say, all right, well, what we'd like to do is stream. How can we work this out? CNN did this too. CNN and HBO are the two big examples recently of this. If you want to use CNN, watch their live stream on your iPad or your computer. If you want to watch HBO on your iPad or computer, you log in with your cable company account to verify you've paid for cable access to CNN or HBO, and then you can do it. So the cable companies are essentially saying, we're the gatekeepers. You better not disenfranchise us. I think the same thing with ESPN3, but I'm not sure. Chat room, is that the case? Do you have to show that you have ESPN? I think you do, through a cable company. And not all cable companies allow this even. Only some. So this is they don't, listen, they don't want you to be a cord cutter. Because what does cord cutter mean to Comcast or Time Warner or Cox or Charter? What does that mean? It means you aren't paying them any money except for internet access, maybe. And their whole business model is you're paying them extra for HBO. You're paying them extra for ESPN. You're paying them extra for CNN. They know. I would love, I mean, believe me, I would love to be a cord cutter, but watch, it's going to be more and more difficult because Hulu, Netflix, all of these other guys eventually are going to say, well, yeah, but you got to buy cable access. That ain't cord cutting. 8888 Ask Leo, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. La 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 la. You know, I'm such a Netflix fan, and this is where I hope Netflix wins. I think they're fighting for us, really, because now think about it. Netflix's interest in all of this is that you cut the cable and you start watching movies on Netflix. I just put Netflix on my Chrome. See, there's a Netflix app on Chrome. You could, but you can just do it through the website. You can do it through, I loved Exit through the gift shop. I'm going to give that 5 stars. So now they're going to make some recommendations. This is the $7.99 per month unlimited streaming. What a deal this is. And they still have stars. They'll have stars for at least through February, and I think they'll have something to replace it. They're very aggressive at preserving this. And look we were talking about the Beatles, Hard Day's Night. All these great movies. I just watch Netflix every night on streaming. I love it. Best deal in entertainment. $7.99. Now, here's the deal. They are sponsoring the Tech Guy podcast, so you could help us out if you like the Tech Guy podcast by subscribing to Netflix, and do it through this URL, netflix.com/twit. Netflix, netflix.com/twit. Ooh, Philip K. Dick. Is this a documentary? What is this? The Gospel According to Philip. Oh, a documentary about Philip K. Dick. Oh, my goodness. I got to watch that. Huge fan of him. The documentaries on here are great. Just great. Here's the deal. If you're already a Netflix subscriber, try it. And if you want to help us out, tell your friends, your family, anybody who doesn't have Netflix that they can try it for 30 days free at netflix.com/twit. They too will realize this is the best deal in entertainment. It's about the cost of one movie on demand from your cable company, and you get thousands of movies every day, every night, unlimited. Netflix.com/twit. I don't think it spoils anything, but I don't want to spoil anything, but even like the streets of San Francisco, they film it in L.A. I thought when we went to see, yesterday I was on the set of Dexter watching them shoot. It was so much fun. So much fun. Michael C. Hall, brilliant actor. Everybody, all the talented people. But I thought, I'll go there, but I won't see much because Dexter takes place in Miami, and I'm sure that's mostly where they shoot. No, they shoot. Even... Is this ruining it? Am I allowed to say this? Even like when Dexter gets in his boat, it's in Long Beach. Did I ruin it? The magic's ruined? I didn't mean to tarnish it. No, he's in Florida. The whole time. It's kind of fun. We saw his balcony. When he goes into his apartment, there's the balcony. And his balcony, is not on the first floor. It's on the second floor. So they have trees around his balcony, but it's just the tops of them because he's at second floor. So it's the treetops. They have little treetops. All right, Liz, I won't say anymore. Liz Romero in our office is a big Dexter fan, and she's got a little pouty lip right now. She doesn't want to know it. No, he's in Miami. It's all real. It's all real. It's not a TV show. You wouldn't lie to me, would you? I wouldn't lie to you. Santa's real, right? Santa's real, too. Easter Bunny can't promise. You think somebody really wants your old teeth? Okay. Kurt in New Jersey, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Kurt.
Hey, Leo. How are you?
I'm
talked to you
great.
a couple times. Just want to say, as somebody who's watching you for the years, I'm real proud, as corny as that sounds, of what you've become with both this tech.
What have I become? Besides a spoiler. Well, no, thank you. You're talking about this new studio, which is just incredible. I agree, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're working, used to be at TD, so I know technical director, so I know what you did on the TriCaster, and working engineering side of television now, so I know all about what you're doing, and it's really impressive. You should
Thank
be very
you.
proud of what
Well,
you've done.
Kurt, next time you're in on the left coast, you come out and visit us, and I'd love to show you what we're doing. We actually call the person that's calling all the shots on our amazing kind of, I don't know what, it's like a 747 base there, the turret. We call them the TD because I guess they are an effective technical director, but they're doing so much more. They're doing audio. They're doing lower thirds. They're switching. If you look on the shot, if you're watching the live stream, in the lower left-hand corner, that is the magic turret where the whole show gets switched, and it's pretty amazing. And the Skype calls going. There's Liz right there rotating the turret. It rotates because it's all really control surfaces. All the gear is in the basement below us. And it is pretty amazing. It's pretty exciting what we've been able to do. And the key is this is all digital personal computer-based technology. Even the TriCaster runs on a PC with Windows 7. I mean, this stuff could not have happened 10 years ago.
No, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing what you've done. I saw the tour you did when you first opened up and downstairs, and it's wild.
Thanks,
Kurt.
I appreciate it.
Two questions and a recommendation. First recommendation, I'm an Android user, love the phone, as I know you do also.
Yeah.
And I was looking for a way to sync pictures from the phone to the PC or to my Mac without having to constantly plug it in or pull the battery or pull the card on the Droid out. And I found a program called DropSync, and it uses a Dropbox account to wirelessly sync through the cloud your photos. So if you take a picture on your camera and you want to get it to your PC or your Mac, it basically uses Dropbox as the conduit. There's a free version that works for one folder, so I just have it syncing the camera folder, and it just goes up. And I can
What a great idea, yeah.
They have a pay version, which is a little better. I'm not affiliated with them or anything like that, but I figured your listeners might want to know. Sort of related to that, my wife is currently using a BlackBerry Curve, and she's about tired of that phone, and the camera's not very good. We just had a baby, so I want something a little better. Looking at the Droid 3. And my only concern is with her business. She's self-employed. She uses iCal. And I heard some rumblings that in order for the wireless sync through Google Calendar, your calendar has to be public. And there's some little bit of concern with that. Is there a way to sync iCal to a Android-based phone without going through Google?
Your calendar does not have to be public on Google.
Oh, okay. Because
if it does, it's a shock to me because I use I use Google Calendar to sync to my phones, and I actually don't use iCal on the Mac. I use a commercial program called BusyCal, but you could use iCal absolutely. iCal has built-in Google Calendar syncing; it's automatic. And boy, it's a shock to me. Let me just look and make sure, but I don't think my calendars are public. No, I don't. I think whoever told you that is wrong. It does not have. They do not have to be public by any means. Maybe they were implying that, oh well, it's on Google, so how private can Google be?
Sure.
But if you're syncing on air with anything, you're floating stuff through the internet. And, you're trusting somebody to do that. And frankly, I'd rather trust Google. There's a lot of scrutiny on what Google's up to by a lot of people, by the Federal Trade Commission. I think you're probably much safer doing it through Google than some other third party. So I use Google for everything. My calendars, my contacts, my to-do list. I sync it all to the phone. The beauty of using Google services is if you are using Android, it's just seamless.
I use it also, except she has a business, so there's some personal information.
Yeah, I completely understand. And if she's a physician, I don't know if it's HIPAA compliant. I mean, there are higher higher end requirements, government and legal requirements for people like physicians. So she'd have to investigate that. But no, I do not believe. In fact, I know that the calendar is not public.
Okay.
You do have to have a public profile. Now, that, by the way, I might mention, Kurt, that DropSync is great. It's a great idea, and integrating with Dropbox is, to me, is de rigueur for any data program on any phone, because Dropbox is so great. But Google Plus does this automatically. If you put the Google Plus client on your Android phone, it will. You turn this on. It's not automatic, but you can have it automatically sync all pictures to Picasa Web.
Okay.
And they're synced privately. You decide whether you're going to make them public. But if you set up your Google Plus account, you'll see that there is a tab on the Google Plus account for your pictures, your photos, and you can review the photos you've taken and decide, in your phone, and decide whether you want to share those or not. But they're also in a private folder on Picasa. So it's really a great way to share your pictures automatically. They're automatically uploaded, and that's absolutely free. It's part of the Google Plus client.
I'll have to take a look at that. And
yeah, I like that.
I'm one of those folks that uses iWeb for a website. It was just for pictures of our son when he was born. Didn't want to put things up on Facebook or anything like that, just for privacy concerns and things like that. As I know I've heard you talk about in the past. So we just used Mobile Me with iWeb. And now that that's going away, with iCloud coming into the forefront, have you heard of any options of what they're going to do for people who use iWeb, or is it?
Well, I think iWeb as a program is dead, but I am pretty sure that Apple has a plan. It won't go away until next year, and Apple has implied, there's no guarantee, but Apple has implied that they have a plan, that there will be something that you can migrate to. Otherwise, I would say you might want to look at another photo sharing site. Almost all photo sharing sites have privacy enabled. So Flickr, I use SmugMug. I can make a private album on SmugMug. I do it all the time. I'll be taking pictures of a school event, for instance. Now, this is pictures of teenagers that I don't have permission from their parents to put those pictures online. And yet I want to share those pictures of the lacrosse game or the soccer game or the school play with other parents in the school. So I upload them to a private album, password-protected album on SmugMug. Flickr allows the same. And then share that link and the password with family, the school. And so that way they have access to it, nobody else does, and that's worked very well. And, almost Ophoto, all of these photo sharing sites do have a form of private folder that might be a little easier for you to use. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Are you hearing me, Leo?
Yeah, we're all hearing you, Dick.
Perfect.
Here, Leo, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, turn you on.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Look who's here. We're having so much fun. I love doing this show, and I love doing this segment because he's my buddy, the Giz Wiz, Dick DeBartolo, Mad Magazine's maddest writer for 40-plus years. You wouldn't know it to look at him. He's 85 years old and still going strong. Hey, Dick.
Hey, Leo. How you doing?
Fine. How are you? We've done, how many Giz Wizes? We've done 1,300-plus Giz Wiz shows, the weekly, daily Giz Wiz.
Yeah, 1,330 we'll do today.
Wow. And and I think we'll still be going strong when we are in our 80s.
Oh, I have no doubt about it.
We'll be in the home, and it won't be just you and me.
And right, and no one will be listening.
No.
But we won't know the difference.
Right. Dick, let's do another gadget. It's great. It's great to see Dick.
The great thing, Leo, is we can do the same gadget every week. And we'll each be surprised.
Wow.
Wow.
That's a better deal than it was last week.
A bird that picks up toothpicks. Holy cow.
Dick, I'm sure you have something better than that for us right now.
I do. And this is one of those gadgets. We did it on the weekly Daily GizWiz, and I keep getting emails about it. For some reason, it just spurred people's interest. I think part of it is that it's just $5. And it's the Tappy, T-A-P-I. And this is a little gadget that just slides over the sink spout and water keeps going through it. But when you're brushing your teeth, or mainly the kids want to drink a water, instead of reaching for another paper cup, or worse yet, dirtying another glass, you squeeze the bottom of the tappy, and it becomes a little instant drinking fountain.
This thing is so cool.
It is really
And it is. It's just a cheap little piece of rubber. I mean, it's not... Is it from Spoon Sisters?
It's from spoonsisters.com, and it's two of them for $9.98. And they were out of everything but the silver color, but by now they should have it comes in a bunch of colors. But yeah, it's absolutely clever, inexpensive. My friend Dennis upstairs has not returned mine.
So I got to describe this because it's probably non-intuitive what this thing is. So the little rubber nozzle that goes on your sink faucet. Yeah. And normal use, your sink just goes through it, and the water comes out the faucet as always. But when you lean over, because okay, show of hands, how many people have ever drunk out of the faucet directly, right? Yeah. Because you don't have a cup, or it's just faster, it's easier. Not very sanitary, but you do it, right? Or maybe you put your head under it like a dog. So this, you go up to the faucet as if you're about to drink out of the faucet without a cup. And you squeeze the rubber, the little rubber tip on the nozzle, and instead of coming out the bottom, it comes out like we used to call them in New England bubblers, like a water fountain. It comes out of like a little water fountain, like a drinking fountain, right?
Yeah.
You call them bubblers?
No, we call them drinking fountains. I come from Brooklyn, where the men call them not little bubblers.
Chat room, am I nuts? But I seem to remember that we were in Providence. Now, Providence, remember, in Rhode Island, we have different names for everything. Like a milkshake is called a cabinet.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Did you know that?
You know, it's very funny because when I ordered coffee, she said, "You mean you want a hydrant?" So it's very confusing up there.
Chat room says,
"Yeah, a hydrant with milk."
Anyway.
She said, "No, you want a hydrant with salsa."
It's a cabinet.
I'm not going back there.
Yeah. I think Providence, they just like to do things a little different. Anyway, bubbler. No, Massachusetts, he says, there's a guy in the chat room that says in Massachusetts we call them bubblers. So and in Australia, they sometimes call them bubblers. So there you go. I didn't make it up. They're bubblers.
Okay.
And it's not pronounced Worcester, it's Worcester. Dick DeBartolo is at gizwiz.biz. That's his website, gizwiz.biz.
And the new What the Heck Is It game starts, so they can go there.
Oh, it's September, so you got a new game for us. How exciting.
I do. Yeah. And you didn't win the last one. Sorry
I didn't?
about that.
Wait, oh, no, okay. Okay, go to the gizwiz.biz. What the heck is it? Click that button right there on the web. I got to see. So the new ones obviously are for making poached. It's a poached egg maker for people who don't like eggs because it's got a hole in the bottom, goes right through. Right?
Boy, yeah.
I nailed it.
First time that you just nailed it right.
So you put this in boiling water in a pan. You crack an egg into it. You let it boil for 3 minutes. Then you lift it out. The egg stays in the pan, and you don't have to eat the egg.
Yeah, right.
Perfect.
And then you throw the yellow things out.
And you throw the yellow thing out. So what was this? I could never figure that out. What is this?
It was the most bizarre gadget. It was called the TWiT, and it was a handle for phone books.
I would have guessed that.
Who would have guessed? So they made two of them. They made the yellow one for the yellow pages. You peeled off the strip, and it stuck it on the back of the phone book.
Oh, that's
And they
crazy.
made a black one for the residential phone book.
Well, I guess.
Now, lots and lots of people, sent in handle answers, and we gave a lot of prizes for handle answers. My favorite was Black & Decker's Grab a Kid. You just
stick it on the kid's back. You can grab them anytime. Yeah. So they knew it was a handle, but for the phone book. This is what's so fun about Dick. He's the king of gadgets. He even has weird gadgets like this one. Gizwiz.biz. Of course, you can catch Dick on World News Now on ABC. And if you stick around and continue to watch our live stream, we'll be doing the weekly Daily Gizwiz right after the radio show at twit.tv. Dick, I will see you in a few. Let's see if we can get a couple more calls in before we do wrap this up. Harris is in California somewhere. Hi, Harris. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo. Your new studios look great, and I want to thank you going all the way back to Call for Help and Screensavers.
Yeah, the good old days. Only took me, 6 years to rebuild it.
Well, It looks great. I love the effects that you can do with the lighting changes in the background, too.
It's pretty neat. Yeah, thanks again to Brent By of OceanStudio.com. He set all the lighting up in here.
Excellent. Wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you.
People behind you.
Thank you.
I had my Windows program did a wonderful update on itself, of course.
Uh-oh.
And right after the update, my QuickBooks stopped working.
Oh, boy.
It said there was a registration DAT problem. And I went to QuickBooks website and found the problem, and it's a problem with some components called MSXML3 and ML4 DDLs, dynamic link libraries. I was able to restore the 3 after having gone to the Microsoft website, but the 4, I can't get it to reinstall 4. And because I don't have it, I can't even uninstall QuickBooks.
Do you have, I'm noticing that they say if you're using Norton 360 during the install, that can cause the problem?
No, I don't. I use one product that was recommended by a good friend.
Oh, yeah? What's that? Nod 32. Good, man. Yeah, there's right there. There's an example of why I just cannot recommend the Norton products. I mean, that's a crazy thing. You install a QuickBooks with Norton running, and it'll break it. The other problem is they say corrupted QuickBooks installations files resulting from an incomplete clean install. You followed their instructions here on restoring the MSXML component?
Yes, I did. Yeah, there's a page. Well, there's a link in there.
I'm looking at the page right now. They're fixed in TWiT QuickBooks support has a
4 pages of explanation. It was quite nicely. Their support department, although they wanted to sell me lots of things, I told them I was an old senior who didn't need to do that. I wasn't about to buy a new version. And then I went to Windows to try to update this one file.
We're out of time. And I'll be honest, if you've done everything they said, I don't know if I can help you, but good luck, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.